Well, it now appears the Senate may be about to do something, enact the bipartisan group of senators who were negotiating on gun legislation, reaching a framework deal on gun violence just about 2.5 hours ago. And it includes red flag laws and enhanced background checks on gun buyers. March for Our Lives co-founder David Hogg releasing this statement, which reads in part, "Thank you for finding common ground that saves lives. We need to be clear there is more work to be done to save more lives, including requiring background checks for every single gun purchase nationwide. This bill, the first of its kind in 30 years, should be the beginning and not the end of Congress's work." And joining me right now is David Hogg. David, I'm so glad to talk with you. I've got to tell you, you've been in my mind for the last 2.5 hours thinking, I wonder what David thinks about this. So what are your thoughts on this framework? Are you happy with it?
Yeah, I think this is a good first step. The reality is there's no single bill that Congress could pass that is going to stop every single shooting, but progress is progress. I believe that the stuff that is in this, essentially a handshake agreement that we have right now, which again is not anything official, could be substantial in helping find the common ground to help stop what happened in Parkland from happening again, such as with the under 21 enhanced review process. It also cracks down on a number of other things. And I think the thing that I like about this bill as well, or the agreement that they seem to have come to, is that it doesn't just focus on the how of how somebody gets a gun, but the why they pick it up to in the first place, by focusing on things like, funding mental health, which is needed more, because 2/3 of gun deaths are suicides. But I don't want to see this bill with the mental health aspect stigmatize mental health more.
Yeah, we should say, though, there are 3 of the 9 provisions that are related to mental health. And that's all good, because certainly someone who takes a gun to go out and kill somebody, there's going to be a mental health component to that. So that is good. But I don't want to throw cold water on this, but there is a lot that is not in this deal, like the ban on assault weapons. And you raised the point that, yes, anybody under the age of 21 will be screened more extensively now. But there are those who would want to have that minimum age to buy a gun just flat out moved up to 21. So what do you think about that? Are those 2 things at all in the realm of the future of Congress?
I think they can be, if we work right now to get the progress that we can, and not just throw everything out and say, well, because we aren't getting absolutely everything that we want right now, we're not going to do anything. Look, again, if we can stop one Parkland from happening because of this, that's good. The reality is, if we do nothing, we're doing nothing to stop the next Parkland or the next shooting from happening. And I'm going to take what actual progress we can get. That isn't just a BS talking point, but we can actually make progress on here. And it's important to highlight that literally yesterday we had thousands of young people, old people, teachers, Republicans, gun owners, Democrats, Americans across the country marching with us in over 450 cities and in Washington, D.C., because we showed that Republicans and Democrats, the country is not divided on this. In fact, the most divided place in our country on this are 100 senators on Capitol Hill. Yep. We all want action. We all want to stop this.
It is the vast majority of Americans, you're right, who feel that way. Party affiliation has nothing to do with wanting to stay alive and keep your community and your family safe from guns. But when you think about what you have accomplished here, relentless pursuit of this, how much do you think the fact that you were out there talking, other members of March for Our Lives, the incredibly eloquent people that are Parkland school shooting survivors, the parents of Uvalde kids, those young ones who've gone to testify in front of Congress, how much do you think that activism has sent the message now to the senators putting this together? And with your relentless approach, you cannot ignore us anymore.
I think it's played a huge component, but it's also important to acknowledge. Sorry about that. Can you see me?
Yeah, that was strange. I'm sorry about that. One more time. Give me again what you were saying about your acknowledging there, the fact that you've done such good work.
Look, the reality is we've showed up. I showed up at Senator Toomey's office, with a young girl who, was just outside simply asking for a meeting, and he refused to meet with her. She was under the age of 11 years old. She wanted to be a coder, right? I think about all the young people that are out there, but also the older people that have been doing this work for decades, like Poe from Newtown Action Alliance and all the other groups, especially the women who rarely get as much credit as they should. And it plays a critical role, but we have to continue showing up. And the best way for people to do that is to text NEXT to 954-954. Once again, that's NEXT to 954-954, because that's how March for Our Lives is able to activate people across the country to show up with Toomey, to show up at Toomey's office, to show up at Senator John Cornyn's office, at Marco Rubio's office. But the way we do that is by texting you.
Yeah. Okay. Last question will be, what is next for you, and how much concern do you have that some Republicans will say, look what we did. We're done with gun reform. Let's move over and move on to something else?
Unfortunately, gun violence is going to continue persisting in this country, and it's going to be impossible to ignore that. And I think what we're doing here is substantial in showing that the movement is now stronger than the NRA. The movement is not against the NRA or the Republican Party. The movement is against one thing: gun violence. And that's what we're doing, bringing in all Americans that we can, because really there is no fence here. You know, we say getting people off the fence. It's either do we want to take action, any action to stop our kids and our loved ones from dying in their communities, or do we not want to do that and continue with the same path we have been? So regardless, we're going to make progress here. And unfortunately, these things are going to continue. I think we can stop some of them. But so long as we don't take the substantial actions that are needed, gun violence will continue. But even if we're stopping one more Parkland, that's still progress.
Okay, David Hogg, with admiration, I thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.